This one, I'm saving it. We're back in the garage and we cars 24/7. That's what I do, we do, my people do. I'm still doing it, actually. In this video, we're gonna show you the progress on the CRX metal work. It's been long and tedious. There are many spots that I have to go over, and I'm not gonna really show how to do it because this is the first time I've ever done it. Well, who am I to tell you how to do it? The 2JZ FRS I call baby girl is parked in the corner. Not where she's gonna stay in the winter because I'm gonna need that spot for my painting booth, which is right next to that window. I am hesitant to paint the CRX in the wintertime, but it's gonna be what I'm gonna have to do. But I'm just keeping it over here for now. I got the cover on it. I usually keep the cover on it because usually I'll take it out, it's clean, and then I come back and it's still kind of clean. So put the cover on it, and then every time I take the cover off, it's like Christmas again. But as far as this metal work goes, there's quite a few spots I'm going to show you that I'm just kind of picking one spot at a time and just making that as good as I can. This rocker down here is for the most part done. I did have to remake this portion. I wasn't happy with it, so it's pretty much for the most part there. This is all welded in. I still have to figure out a way to match this curvature, and that's why I sliced this here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to the back of that to really make it what it needs to be, but I'll figure something out. I did put the rear lights in it just to kind of see how the edges of the body there lined up. The rear hatch, that was a fun one. This is the original rear hatch off this car that had scratches on the glass, so I didn't want to use that. I had a parts car, and so I just grabbed another one. Well, that one has good glass, but it's rusted at the corner. I didn't really realize that until I started playing with it. You can see down there, it's all jacked up. So then the decision was made to put the original hatch back on it and then swap the glass out of that one. Nothing like making more work, I know. Over here, this quarter is on. This piece, now when I put this quarter on, this has a little body line right here that when I welded this in, it was a little bit too high. Instead of trying to hammer it all into place, I took a portion of this parts car fender, kind of took that out, and then I am currently making what needs to be made. You'll see once I put the trim piece on, I kept the original holes just so we could keep that all in place. So once I put that on, grind all this down and we'll be in good shape. I haven't finish welded this because that quarter panel is obviously low, so I'm gonna see if I can bang it out from the back before finishing that off. But this is kind of how this has gone. If I look at the whole thing, it's very overwhelming. So what I'll do is, after work, multiple nights in this case, I will just keep messing with just this part until I'm happy with it. It's obviously not done, so I'm not happy with it, but I just try to focus on one spot and not get overcome by all the different things that have to happen to this before the body work, the actual body work. The metal work and how good I can make that is going to determine how easy or easier the body work's going to go. I know that, so I'm not trying to rush any of this. I'm just doing what has to be done, and it's just taking a long time. In the engine bay, when I was test fitting the fenders, I did not have this last hole visible, and it was because for whatever reason this was way bashed in, which put the hole where I couldn't see it. Couldn't really get to the back of that effectively, so what I had to do was I cut a section out here, and then I was able to bang that in until I got my hole visible, which is all I'm really looking for. Welded that back up, primer it, it'll be under the fender. Just little spots like that that have been really time consuming. Another area that I haven't started on is going to be right here. This is all screwed up, and these holes hold a bracket which actually helps the bumper stay in place. So on both sides of the car, those are just wrecked. And I will need to get that figured out so that I can put the bumper on and make sure it lines up with the rest of the car. We'll do a final fit before we really start doing body work. While I did finish this door jamb that was completely detached from itself, that's in good shape. The lower part of this rocker, I haven't really landed at the rail that's under there. Not quite yet. What I was thinking was I would check the door gap after I put this door back on, see if this needed to be put down, put up, whatever the case might be. So that's why I haven't put the rail on down low. I'm moving on to this piece, and these holes are what hold a plastic, it's a plastic bracket, and then there's a support that sits here, and that's what holds the end of the bumper on. So those holes are janky, and I keep all the pieces from this quarter patch, even though it's from a hatchback, and I did find the piece that kind of goes down in there. So I'm going to cut that out, start with that. Oh, there's what I'm talking about right there on this parts car deal. So it's got the support. Obviously this one's rusted all to shit balls too, so can't use that. I feel like I was rushing through that one because it's just a bumper support, but I may have just killed that. Man, that came out looking way better than I thought it would. It's probably because I got this nice setup going on here. I've got the air hose, the welding, grinder, welder, and on top of that, I did get a fancy new shield so I don't put a cutoff wheel through my face. That's another thing. Don't buy Chinese cutoff wheels. Yeah, they get about halfway down and then they explode and make it all exciting and stuff, but no. I go to the welding store to get the cutoff wheels just because I don't want to die. But I did get a new welding helmet. It's a Hobart. This was sponsored not by Hobart, but by a friend of the channel, Leonard, who in real life watches the channel, and he saw that my Harbor Freight helmet was shitting the bed, and he's like, hey, I have one of these sitting around. Why don't you take it? You can have it. And thanks, Leonard. This thing is pretty cool. It's got auto darkening and delay after the weld. It will brighten up. Just an awesome helmet, so thanks, Leonard. So yeah, this side's done. I mean, man, that's really solid too. One of the cool things that I got was the internal frame coating from Eastwood, and they have this specialty straw. Now the end of this is supposed to spray 360 degrees, so you can run this down like frame rails and coat the internal frame coating. I probably could have done a better job of straightening this hose, but I wanted to see if this worked, because after I get all the welding done, I'm really kind of freakish about any bare metal being back behind the rockers or any of the stuff that I've welded. So check this out. Let's see if it works. First, it's got to fill the. Ooh, look at that. Here's a white. That's pretty cool. So I accidentally ordered 2 of these, but I think after I'm done using it, I'm going to put some acetone through it. Maybe I can use this on any kind of spray paint, not just the frame coating. When I got this beautiful 1988 CRX SI, I did notice the door patch. It looked like there was, you could tell there wasn't something right about it. It looked like a piece of cardboard that somebody kind of glued on there. So after the sandblasting, we saw it was really just a patch that wasn't really welded all that well. Knowing that this part of the door was bad on the parts car, I did cut part of the door out. This is the part that we're gonna need. There is rust on it. It kind of wraps around. So I'm gonna extract the door skin from the rest of this door and see if maybe I can make it what I need to make it, because there's a curvature here that I don't want to try to recreate, so I'm going to try to use that. So I'm going to put some music on, which YouTube does not like. Oh no, don't play music in your videos, Steve. Maybe put some Dr. Dre on, see if I can do a drive-by on this damn door patch. Yay, yay! My attempt to clean this up, I don't know, got some of the rust off. I think it'll be a usable piece, but I want to get all of this rust off. I've got this can of that stuff. At one time it did take rust off of things, but I've had this can for many years. Now that I think about it, I just keep cans of things for a long time, and that's probably a cleaner, not a rust remover. At one time I did have a rust remover can, I just thought that was it. Anyway, I went to the store and I bought this stuff. So we'll put it in this little bath thing that I've made, and we'll see how that works. As you can see on this door, there's a missing portion of the rail that the skin will sit up against. So I'm going to make a little piece and weld that in, make it whole again, and let that rust sauce do its thing. That was not my best patch, but more material than it started with, so I'm just going to go with that. Okay, I got that primed. That rust sauce doesn't really work if your container leaks it all over the floor. That was fun. So I found this bag. Looks like that's leaking too. I guess the sharp metal piece in it is not ideal, but so after we had it in the rust sauce for about 2 hours, I don't know, probably wire brush it and carry on. Maybe it did something. After wire wheeling it, the metal is very thin down here in the damaged areas. So I don't know that this is my piece. Got that wraparound section that goes over the front of the door, which I was trying to keep. But I think that metal's going to be so thin that I think it's going to be better if I take the rest of this door, which has the same contour all the way down it, and maybe snag a section right around here where it doesn't have any rust. I think that's going to serve me better in the long run, so that I can do this just one time. I did look at getting some panel bond, so I could maybe panel bond it down here. Panel bond is like a two-part, kind of like a glue, but it's never ever coming off. It's for bonding auto body to auto body. And then I found out it was $75 for the little tube. Nope, not gonna do that. Yeah, that worked out way better just taking a good sample. I mean, it's got the whole overflap on the bottom, no damage. I got to that point again where I had to clean up the garage, and now I'm happy. So I've got the door that I put the patch in, and the metal's not real tight, as you can see. So I'm gonna have to try to take my heat real slow and build up off the side of my weld, which I'm less likely to burn through than if I were to just try to attack that right where it's gap-tastic. Little dots prove to be the way to go with this really thin metal. There's some pinholes and stuff like that. I'm gonna grind this flat, see what I've got, and then probably do some more little dots and make it fancy again. After grinding the welds all down and doing a little bit of sanding, I'm a little low in my weld line, but that's okay. I've got a couple pinholes that I'm gonna fill in with some more weld, and then I'll grind that down, and I think that I should be able to make that something with some body filler. The mission for tonight was just to finish the welding on the door and kind of grind it down, which I've done, to see where I'm at. It looks pretty good. The garage is clean, so that means I'm ready to do things quickly. I'm wearing this sweet ass welding hat, and I have body filler. So I thought I would put an initial coat on this door. That'll be exciting. We'll see kind of what we've got. Here's a fun story about the first experience I ever had with body filler, or Bondo. So back in Southern California, I don't know, it must have been, well, I won't date myself, but anyway, we found a Schwinn, somebody had a Schwinn bike frame, the old style, and it had a little crossbar at the bottom. So the cool thing at the time was lowrider bikes, and you fill that center section in to kind of make it look like a gas tank. I'm like, I'll get it done for you guys. So I slathered this whole thing with Bondo, and I didn't know that it needed hardener to make it activate. So you can imagine the next day I go there like, sweet, we're on our way to a lowrider bike. And this thing, it just has gooey mess all over it. My stepdad was pissed. Well, we've got the base layer down, and I'll sand most of this off. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the form started so that it's the right form. You can see it's starting to kick. It's not fluid anymore. Took a little bit longer to kick than I thought, but I do tend to rush when I mix, and I feel like rushed, which I know I shouldn't, but it's just taking a little bit of time. So I'll use this layer to start sanding and getting us where we're going. Now I'm just going to kind of knock it down and start getting the shape of the door. There'll be multiple coats of this going on. I just want to kind of try to get the basic shape of it, and then the next layer will just get eventually smoother and smoother. There's the first layer sanded down. I put it on a little light and focus. There's a couple of shallow areas you can see here because the sandpaper didn't really hit it. But I think we're on our way to being a door again. And the second coat didn't go on as smooth as all the YouTube videos I watched, but it's on there, and we've got to be getting flatter at this point. With a light source on the other side of the door, we can look down the door, kind of see what it looks like. This body line here is not very crisp. There's a couple dents that still need to be fixed up. The first couple coats of filler, you know, will be needed. I noticed that we have a high spot right here, so I'll have to tap that down, and then in here is a low spot. You can see I didn't even hit it with the sandpaper, and there's one back over here too, right there. I was going to put the doors back on the car just so I get a good overall of looking at the car and kind of have an overview of what I need to do. But then the doors are so easy to work on on that cart sitting flat. So I think I'm gonna do the majority of the doors on the cart, and then I'll transfer them to the car. I've still got some banging to do on the back here. So that's a little bit more of the progress of the metal work, which it's just taking its time. But once this is done, and this is going to be the foundation, this is the important part. So I really don't want to rush through this, but that's a little bit of process. And hopefully on the next video, we'll be into filler and finessing things a little bit more. But it's about winter here in Minnesota, and this is my project for the winter. I do have to take the engine out of the 2JZ. That's going to need some new clutches, which requires pulling the whole engine and transmission out of it. But no big deal. I've got, I don't know, 5 months until it's not an Arctic freezer again. So this is what I'm doing, and I will be uploading more videos about the CRX. I think my ultimate goal for the CRX, I've decided, is to have it done by spring, and then hopefully late summer next year, maybe drive it out to Long Beach, California for the Japanese Classic Car Show. I think that'd be a good fun trip with the newly built CRX, and so that's kind of the goal that I've set for myself, and hopefully I can achieve it. The other day someone saw the car and they said, "Why didn't you just go to Arizona and buy one?" What fun is that? I mean, you can go buy a car and then I bring it back and just look at it? This one, I'm saving it. So when I finally get it out on the streets and people say, "What kind of this is there? Who did this? Blah, blah, blah." I did it, all in the garage. And that's what I like to do. But if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, and we will see you on the next one. That's for damn show.